on the lines and called in this morning and said, I want to go on the air. And, Scott, welcome to the program, and glad you called in. What is it you want to say now?
Hey, good morning, Barry. Thanks for making an opportunity for me to join you on your show. I mean, there's so much to say about the situation. It's been sensationalized in the media. I'd like to think that the people who listen to your show like to base their judgments on facts and good information. And I'll tell you that most of what's out there has been sensationalized. And so I'm doing the best I can to share the truth with people, or at least the facts of the case, and that much has been said, for instance, about immunity for state legislators. Well, I was there and stone cold sober. My sister was there. She was stone cold sober. The girl I was dating was there. She was intoxicated. When police and I had a discussion about me being a state legislator, which is a fair thing to share with them because the situation would receive a lot of scrutiny by the media. So when I had this discussion, they said, look, if this is a felony, then we could arrest you. And that's fair. And that's true. If this was a breach of the peace, then we could arrest you.
It wasn't?
That's fair.
But anyway, this was not a breach of the peace?
Well, that's my point, is if I had done something wrong, Barry, if I had assaulted this woman, then they could have arrested me and taken me to charge me and taken me to jail.
Excuse me for a second. If we're going to have this discussion, let's do this. Let's stay within the bounds of what we're discussing. I don't care about your drinking habits. I don't care about her drinking habits. The question is, since you knew why Article 4, Section 6 of the Constitution was put into place to protect legislators so that, they would not miss a vote and so that some corrupt local law enforcement official couldn't hassle them and keep them from carrying the vote. And since there was no vote on Saturday or Sunday and you reported to work as usual on time on Monday, then why invoke Article 4, Section 6 and give yourself a privileged immunity from arrest that night?
And that's just it, Barry. I didn't.
Who did?
No, I informed I informed law enforcement that I was a state legislator, and that said two things to them. One, you're not dealing with some idiot on the roadside, if you will, and two, you're dealing with someone who has you're dealing with someone who has a vested interest in making sure that everything goes smoothly, willing to cooperate. Two, that this event would receive some level of scrutiny, probably by the media.
Excuse me. Hogwash. You did invoke Article. It is. You invoked it. And let me tell you something. Just because you're in the legislature doesn't mean that you're immune from being an idiot on the side of the road. Now, I'm not calling you an idiot on the side of the road, but I'm saying being a member of the legislature does not in any way ensure that you wouldn't be an idiot on the side of the road. You certainly did invoke it. You informed them that you were a member of the Arizona legislature, and you did trigger the whole thing. You can't have it both ways.
So you were there, Barry? Because I don't recall.
No, excuse me. I was. Don't change the subject. I was not there. I'm only once again responding to the things you, sir, have said. I was not there. No, I wasn't. Thank God.
Exactly, Barry. And so what I said was I did not invoke immunity. I was never immune in that situation. Never. I had a specific conversation with 9 different police officers, including a commander, at that event, at that roadside incident. And I was not protected. I was not immune, and that's the problem with the information that's being spread. I'm happy. I've waived any immunity. They are welcome to charge me if I've done something wrong, but at the scene they didn't charge me because the physical evidence was such that they saw that I was the one who was assaulted.
Well, okay. Now listen, hold on for a second. This is another thing that you've been doing that is really disingenuous because you have, as a legislature, no immunity from prosecution. You never did, and you never could invoke that. So exactly. I think it's horribly disingenuous that you're running around saying that you didn't waive it. It wasn't yours to waive. What you did invoke, and what you keep saying you will waive, is immunity from the arrest on the side of the road. That was the only privileged immunity that you had. And if you really feel that way, why don't you then go on down to the police department on Friday evening and say, you know, I shouldn't have triggered Article 4. Go ahead and process me through, and let's just get this out of the way.
Because there was nothing to process me for, Barry. That was a decision made by the police who were on the scene. They actually examined the physical evidence and made their decision. I was not immune. I did not invoke immunity. I did inform them I was a state legislator. That's fair.
Well, that's the trigger point. That was the invocation. Yeah, you did.
No, that's not invocation of that, Barry. I was not immune. You're not listening to me. I was not immune.
Okay. All right. Actually, I am listening, and you're playing a very interesting game. The game is a little thing that people do called How Dare You Quote Me.
Barry,
yes.
It's not a game. This is not a game. You know what? I'm asking for justice for me, and I'm asking for mercy for the young lady who was there. That's it. That's all I have to say about this. You look at my background. People who know me believe me. People who are
mercy.
Are never going to believe
Scott,
me.
mercy.
He said,
you don't want. Wait.
Look at my character, Michelle, and you can see that
Scott.
I don't have a history of this. I don't act like this. So, you know. There you go.
That's all great. And I don't think anybody, and I have heard no one say that you have a history of this. I have heard no one beating up your former girlfriend. I have heard no reason to ask for mercy. Straw man arguments, you're setting up all these things that don't really exist and then knocking them down, coming across trying to sound like, some kind of hero here. I don't understand. This is all about the only issue that I have been talking about is whether or not it was appropriate for you to, A, invoke your privileged immunity on the side of the road when you had nothing to do in the Senate the next day, you weren't going to miss a vote, and B, call for an abolishment of Article 4, Section 6, claiming it's archaic. It most certainly is not archaic.
Well, it's archaic in the sense that that it should be clarified, because the history of this 50-some years ago was that, as you pointed out on the show, was that there were people in leadership, governor or president of the Senate or House Speaker, would detain lawmakers coming into town trying to make sure a vote would go a certain way. So there was a need for it at the time. These days, I don't know that there's a need for it, but there is some need for clarification. In my experience at the side of the road, there was no need to invoke immunity because I was not immune. There are
how would you
in the Constitution, Barry?
How would you like for it to be clarified?
I don't know, and I think people should take a look at it.
Well, it seems pretty clear.
There's a gray area here.
I don't see any gray area. It worked for you.
Then leave it as it is. But I think it's fair to take another look at it because this seems to be a national issue of national concern to people. And to me, it's fairly clear. I was not immune. I was never immune. That police made a decision based on physical evidence that I was not at fault and shouldn't be charged with anything.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that that's what happened. I mean, that's fine, but that's really none of that is the issue. Let me help you understand why it has become an issue and why it became an issue on national television. Because, A, when a sitting member of the legislature gets pulled over in a domestic violence issue, even though you say there's no domestic violence and you never hit her, that's fine, I'll take you at your word, but it was still a domestic violence disturbance on the side of the road. And when that happens with a member of the legislature, that becomes an issue. And then when it appears that there's some hypocrisy going on, you say, I didn't invoke anything, yet you didn't get taken to jail, and it's the normal procedure that both people go to jail when both people have injuries. That's normal, the normal process with all the local law enforcement agencies, and it looks like, there's some preferential treatment going on, and that's why it made the national news. But you don't need me to explain all that to you. You already know.
Right. I understand that. I understand the perception issues surrounding this case, but that's why I wanted to come onto your show and talk with you and Michele and share the other side of the story that apparently is not getting through the national media, and that is that I did not invoke immunity. I was never immune, and that if there is some gray area in this constitutional provision, that someone should take a look at it and clear it up. I am happy to be held responsible for anything that police think I did, or some city prosecutor or county prosecutor think I did. And I'm happy to wait until the police report comes out so that everyone has maybe a better understanding of what was firing at the team.
And we'll all have to wait. And listen, I'm running really short on time. Let me just ask you this before they're going to cut us both off if I don't stop. Specifically, once again, you say you want Article 4, Section 6 clarified. What is it that you think we ought to do?
Well, Barry, apparently there are perception issues that need to be gray areas that need to be clarified here. And so, smarter minds than me, legal minds than mine should maybe take another look at it.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say to get out there before we have to shut down?
I do appreciate the chance to come on your show, Barry and Michele. So thank you very much.
Scott Bundgaard joining us, ladies and gentlemen.